And again, good morning, everyone. I hope you all have practiced whatever you have learned so far. And in this particular video, we're going to see about data provider and extend reports. But before that, I think we haven't executed our test from test.xml. We will do that because we've been running the individual tests so far. Let's try to create an test.xml and run all of them at once. Again, I hope you all know how to do the response schema validations. Please add the schema validations also. We have already covered that. It's just that response dot then, and then you have the body. Do the JSON schema validator import, and then point it to the schema folders. Okay, you can maintain all your schemas inside the resources folder. So maybe you can create a new directory called the schemas, and then you can maintain all your schemas here, right? So that you can also do the schema validation. I hope you all know how to do it. So response schema validation. Okay, you can also include your code here. Okay, response schema validation. Okay, if you notice, our tests are also arranged in a AAA manner. Okay, people call it as AAA. First, we are arranging and stuff that are required to run the stuff, run our test, and then we are doing some actions, and then we are at the end we are doing assertions. Okay, this is the way how we need to write our test. Okay, so even though we are doing like that, we don't know that there is a principle called as AAA, where you arrange stuff that you need to run the test, and then you action them, and then you assert them. Okay, so that's how your test should be arranged. See, everything is one line. This is one liner, this is one liner. Again, this is almost 4 lines of code, but you have written a very beautiful test. Okay, so that's how your test should be. It should be complete. Okay, don't exchange the parameters to another test. Don't make your test case to depend on another test. I haven't used any grouping concepts, all those things. No, don't use all those things. Your test has to be independent. Okay, it has to run on its own. You just run your test, just this particular test has to run. Okay, it should not depend on any other test results to run this test. Okay, it should not be the case. If that is the case, then combine both these two things into one particular test. Okay, so that's how it should be. Good. Now let's do the TestNG XML creations. Okay, I have added the TestNG plugin in my IntelliJ. In Eclipse also you can add that, and then you can create the TestNG.xml. Okay, once you've done that, just reload it. Now you got that. Okay, so maybe I can use online XML formatter. Okay, now we got this. Copy to clipboard, and then you go to framework. Now we got all of them, right? So we have two classes, get test and post test. It includes two methods. Suppose you don't want to execute one method, you can remove it from here. Again, I don't want to give all these things. I want to run the test in parallel. So what you can do, you can also mention parallel equal to methods. Okay, and then you have the option to thread count. I want to run 5 tests in parallel. Okay, you can also do this. But for now, let's assume I have the thread count as 1. First, let's run it, and then we'll see. Okay, right click, run as test in Jira.xml. I already have started my JSON server. It's up and running. Okay. So all of them are getting passed, right? That's good. So let's try to see what is the time it took. So it's if you see the total time it took us almost 3 seconds, 925 milliseconds. That's the beauty about AB automation. It's very fast than your UI. Okay. So let's try to change it and to 5. Okay. And let's try to run it again. Okay, almost if you notice the time, this time took a little bit of extra time. I don't know, but yeah, the tests are executed in parallel anyways. Okay, good. And now let's integrate this with data provider and test extend reports. Okay, the first thing is we want to understand what is a data provider before we get into it in detail. So let's create one more class here. Okay, Okay, so we are going to work with data provider. Let's say anyone knows why we want to use data provider? Is anyone? Do you know how to use data provider? Why we want data provider?
Data provider helps us to run our test in a
Mhm.
data-driven way.
Yeah, okay, good. Uh,
We need to create the object class. There is a annotation available in TestNG
okay.
where we can pass it to the test methods.
Hmm.
So using that one, we can make our uh,
Good.
make our
Test to run
test
multiple
independent.
times. Yeah, it can run your same test with multiple set of test data. But why you are using data provider? You could have used a for loop, right? You could have stored all the test data in a list or in a hash map, and then you could have used a for loop to or do the iteration, right? Why we are using data provider?
Yeah, yeah, Mutan. Like if we go for loop, like the test will be only one at the rate test, like
Yeah,
in the test ng dot output,
yeah.
or the only one test result will be shown. But if you go for dataprovider, like the test will be shown as per multiple set of data.
Okay, good. So so how many of you have watched my YouTube playlist on data provider?
Yeah, I have watched and I get to know from there only.
Yeah, I know, Kavi, you haven't watched my data provider thing. Um, okay. So yeah, so let's see what is the problem we have, and then we'll try to resolve that, and then we'll use it in our code. Okay. So let's first assume people normally think, okay, it only returns to the dimensional object array, but that is not the correct. Okay, it's not always the return type. Return type. Okay. If you're using for loop, okay, we will not get the you know number of tests. Okay, number of tests will be 1 if we use for loop. Okay, let's say there is a code that I need to execute. Maybe that code is basically doing okay, so let's assume like this. Okay, pass something like this. Okay, so if you want to run it with multiple set of test data, maybe uh, okay, so you use a for loop, and then you do int I equal to 0, what I less than 10, whatever, and then I plus plus whatever, and then you execute it multiple times. Okay, but after executing the first time, let's say your test is getting failed, so maybe sessions so that uh, okay, so first time you are executing, okay, after first time it will fail. Okay, so it will not execute the remaining 9 times. Okay, that's the problem. We don't know what is the results of those. So second time you fix it, you fix the first test data or first action, and then you run it. Now the first is passing, second time again it is failing in the second data, or in the fourth data it is failing. Suppose you have 100 set of test data that you want to run, you cannot run it multiple times to fix the issues. Okay, at once you need to get all the results. That's when data provider comes in handy. Okay, if there is a failure, let's try to run it and then see what's happening. So there is a failure here. Okay, it actually stopped. Okay, so maybe I don't want to inject this. Let's assume I just code it for now. So there is an assertion error, it failed. Okay, so first time it printed this and failed, but it didn't execute it the other 9 times, right? So we don't know what is the result of it. And if you notice, the total test is 1 of 1. Okay, but when it comes to data provider, it will be treated as 10 tests. Okay, and then it will also bring me the result of all the 10 times. Now I have only result of one particular test. Okay, that's a need to go for data provider when you can use for loop. Okay, so we are not using for loop anymore, so we're going to use data provider. Okay, maybe I'll use this for another example. Okay, so let's this, and to use data provider we have the annotations. Okay, data provider equal to, and then you can give the data provider name. Let's for now let me give it as get data, And for using a data provider, you need to use data provider annotation and public. For now, let's assume everyone using object two-dimensional object array will also use that, and the name of the method is getData. Okay, so if you haven't given any name to the data provider, using name equal to some name, okay, some name, okay, then your name of the method is your you have to give here. But if you give your name for your data provider, then you have to use like this. So I don't want to complicate things. I remove this, and here I can use get data. Okay, the method name is your data provider. Okay, good. Once you are done with this, now I have to run this test case multiple times. Okay, this two-dimensional object indicates two different things. Okay, the first dimension here, um, first dim is basically number of times you want to execute, and the second dimension indicates number of parameters to the method. Okay, good. Now I want to run this test multiple times, let's say 3 times. Okay, return new two-dimensional object array, and here I have to, okay, so I want to run it 3 times. Okay, first time I want to pass ABCD, and then username is EFGH, and then I also have something like this, some three usernames. So this time, so if I run this test now, okay, it will execute 3 times. Okay, so the dimension is actually 3 by 1. Okay, 3 by 1. Okay, so 3 is number of times I want to execute this test. 1 is number of parameters I want to pass it to this method. Okay, so this is what we need to understand. So now there is no parameter passed to the method, but I need to pass the username. Okay, so let's assume this is a username, so I can give the type of a testing, and I can give some names. So now, so I guess, so you can tell username. Okay, good. So now let's try to run the test and check whether it is running 3 times. If you notice, total test is now 3 because the data provider treat each of the iteration as a different test, and we have got results for all of them. Even though all of them are failing, that's absolutely fine, but we are our intention is to see the results of all the 3, and that's what is happening. Okay, so now let's remove these assertions. Okay, we don't need them anymore, and let's focus more on this particular statement. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I want to also pass password to this. Okay, so let's say this time I also want to pass password, so this is a password. Okay, and this, for the second iteration I want to also pass this, and third iteration I also want to pass this. Shailesh, can you switch off your video, Shailesh? Yeah, so okay, so good. So this time the number of iterations is 3, but the number of parameters to the method is 2. Okay, so now I also want to pass one more parameter to the method, otherwise it will throw error. So I can also do, yes, so this time I want to print the password. Okay, so good. Now let's try to run the test and see what's happening. So this will work absolutely fine, but the problem here is if you want to execute a number of times. Okay, so suppose the parameters to the method is not username and password, you want to add more. Okay, you want to add, let's say, email. Okay, some, and then you want to add address. Okay, some address, and then some response code. Okay, whatever. Okay, so you want to add all these things. Okay, so in those cases it becomes very difficult. Okay, okay, some values. Okay, whatever. Now you have to pass 5 parameters. Okay, let's go here. into string email, string address, string code, okay, whatever, something like this. Okay, you need to pass 5 parameters to the method. So this is becoming more clumsy, right? But in case of real time, okay, you may need to even pass 100 parameters to the test method, or 20 parameters. So it is not a good approach to clutter your method signatures with the parameters like this. Okay, it's not a good approach. So then what we can do? Hey Amudan, how can I optimize this? Okay, if you see, all these parameters are basically the values, right? Let's assume they all have the keys like username, password, email, address, and response code. Okay, so it's just basically a key value pair. What if I can store all this information in a hash map? So let's say first hash map, I have the information about, uh, in first hash map, what I want to store. I have a hash map. In that, in the first index, I will store username as ABCD. Okay, comma. Apart from that, I'll also have password, and the value is some value. Okay, like this I will add all the values. Okay, whatever 5 values I have, all these things I will add to the map. Okay, and then in the second map I will add the same thing. Okay, but the values keep changing. The key will remain username, but the value will be this. Key will remain the same, but the value will be changing. Okay, same way I will add 3 maps. And then all the 3 maps, now I have map 1, map 2. Okay, and then I'll have map 3. All these maps I'll put it in a list. Now I also have a list to store all this map 1, map 2, map 3. Once you store like this, then the number of parameters to the method will be reduced to 1. Okay, because we'll have only one parameter, that is map. Okay, let's try to do it, guys. Again, if you want, you can also use like this. But the problem with this is, if your number of parameters is increasing, you have to maintain all of this. That is a problem. So to optimize that, we are trying to store all this in a very effective collection, that is hash map. So let's do it. Okay, so let's keep this thing. Okay, and then let's go again on the top. Okay, let's name it as get data 1, and let's refer the store it. Okay, let's remove this. Okay, instead of returning like this, what I can do, um I can construct them one by one. Okay, let's do this. Okay, for now let's assume you are returning void, so otherwise it will throw error. Okay, let's be keep it as this. Okay, now, so now I will have an object array. Okay, uh, I'll have an object array. Let's say assume it's data equal to new object array. Okay, and I want to mention the dimension, right? So here I want to have three iterations. So I will mention 3, the number of iterations, but the parameters to the method is I want to restrict that to 1. Okay, good. Now, in first I'll have a map. Okay, I'll have a map, uh, string comma string. Okay, let's say this map 1 equal to new hash map. Okay, so you import this map from Java tutorial, and here in the map 1 I'll put values. Okay, map 1 dot put values. The username is the key, and then the values, what are the value. Okay, the same way you pass other parameters to the map. Okay, okay, yes, password, and then email, whatever. Okay, whatever you want, you can pass like this. Okay, let's just assume I want to restrict this for 3 now. Okay, this is map 1. Let's say same way map 2, map 3. Okay, now we have 3 iterations. Okay, map 2, this is map 3, and now I will change some of the values. Anyways, it won't make much difference. Okay, now we have 3 maps. Okay, now I want to store this in an array list. Okay, so you can use arrays dot as list as well. And then you can put map 1, map 2, map 3, and then this is basically a list, right? And let's introduce a new local variable, or you can directly put it in object of this one. Or what I can do is say this as data of this 0, 0. I want to put, okay, I want to put map 1 and data of 1, 0. 1, 0. I want to put map 2. Let's go step by step. And data of 2, 0. Okay, 0 equal to map 3. Once you store all this information, now we have the data array, so I can directly return data. Okay, that's it, guys. So what we are doing? So we're having 3 bunch of data. Okay, I'm storing everything in a hash map, and this time in each of the index, see the length, the size is 3, so that the index will be 1 less than, so less than 3. So that is 0, 1, 2. This is 1. Number of parameters to it is 1. So this 0, 0, 0. My column wise, it's not changing. Okay, it's an array that's having a single dimension, that's a row wise. Okay, the number of iterations will be 3, but the number of parameters to the method will be 1. Okay, let's go and change this. You don't have to pass this anymore. Can instead pass the map and then string comma string. Name it as map or something, or data here. And if you want to retrieve the data from a map, you you have to go use the old way, that is data.get and then username. Same way, if you want the password, data.get password. Okay, now let's try to run this test and then see what's happening. So if you notice, we have ran it, 3 times, and then this is null. I don't know why something is null, because we are still referencing to map. Okay, so you have to change this properly. This is copy paste errors. Okay, okay. Now run it again. Okay, now all of them are printing the values. Okay, so this is how you can feed a number of test data to a particular test case. Okay,
Amuthan, I have a doubt over here.
yeah,
Last time when we used without this map, we
yeah,
passed only the columns like header, like username, password, those things.
yeah,
But here, like we are passing the entire value, right? Username, password, those
yeah, yeah.
things.
We are passing the map
Actually, I'm not.
itself. We are passing the map itself.
So actually, the intention was to reduce the
Number of parameters to the
like,
method.
but now along with the parameter, we are passing the data as well, right? Let's say the username, the first
Yeah.
few values again.
See, this data is a hash map. Okay. On the first iteration, your data provider will return the 0th index, the object array in the 0th index, there is a hash map. So this will be feeded as a input to this particular method. So the number of parameters is now just 1. Okay. So with, if you have a hash map, how will you get the value out of it? Okay. There is a key called username that you want to get. So I used data.get and then the username. Okay. Second iteration, the second map will be returned. Third iteration, the third map will be returned. Okay. Got it?
Okay.
Okay, see, otherwise you can again go to my YouTube playlist. Okay, I have explained this in a very easy way there. Okay, maybe if you find it little complex here, you can go to that, because that's a 1 hour video. I cannot take 1 hour for explaining data provider again here. Okay, please go ahead and watch it, where I will explain one by one, step by step, with the diagrams and other stuff. Okay, you can also have a look at it. Okay, but for now, it is more than enough that if you understand that we can use data provider like this. If you are not intended to use like this, okay, maybe you can use the old way. That's why I also showed you the old way, where you can pass the number of parameters. That's also okay. Okay, good. Now let's go and optimize certain test or something like that, so we can see what we can do about it. Let's say, let's try to optimize this particular thing. Okay, this particular test is now actually hitting the path parameter whatever we are passing. and then it's taking us back um, uh, the last name in it, right? So we are just comparing it. So let's try to run it and then see what's happening. So it's basically hit the ID as 2, and then it's getting the response back and it's validating it. So what I want to do is I want to validate this for almost 5 IDs, and I also know the last name. Okay, let's try to pass these two values. Okay, let's assume you have the data provider as uh, get data. So let me create sorry, at the rate data provider. So I want to run it 3 times, okay, for 3 different values. For the first one, I want to pass the ID value as let's say ID value is basically 2, and then the value is this. And then for the second one, I want to pass 3, and the value is some. For now, it will fail. That's okay, guys. My intention is not fail or pass. Okay. Okay. Now I want to run it 3 times. Okay. And now this will this will feed me two parameters. First one is basically of a integer, and then here that is 2, sorry, ID, and then second one is string last name. Now instead of hard coding here, this ID will be replaced by ID. Okay, that is coming from here. Okay, the last name will be used for the assertion. Okay, so let's try to run this test now and see what's happening. Okay, okay, the first one is getting passed. The second one will fail because we obviously know it seems there is no uh, it's trying to get the ID, but the ID 3 is not available, so it's returned empty. And then so the assertion itself failed, so that's okay. The 4 is also is not there. Okay, maybe we will use some other numbers. Let's say let's go to the db.json and then see what it has. Okay, so open this file. Okay, let's open this in notepad. So maybe 350 and 729 is what I want. Okay, let's go there. 350 and 729, and the value is, let's say, funk. Then okay, funk. Okay, that's all. Again, run the test. So all of the test is getting passed now. Okay, so basically you can drive your test using the data provider. Okay, you can add data provider for each test if you want, and then you can use it. Okay, so that's how it is. Now let's all close all the tabs, and then let's focus on generating the reports, right? So we have data provider test, and then let's also, this is just for dummy, guys. Don't create these things in your this is for your explanation. So external reports demo, we already seen about the external reports, so I'm going to be little fast here. While covering SOAP UI, we have already covered this. So first, let's say I created a sometimes this import will not happen. Come on. Okay. Now, to do the external reports, we want the external reports. Let's say it is not available here, so we need to download this Maven dependency. Let's go to the internet. Uh, external reports Maven. Okay, so let's go to the latest one. The 5.0.8 is the latest, but let's go for this uh, because I haven't explored if they changed anything. We will not be sure. So let's go to the most stable version. Okay, and do the download. Once this is done, let's close this form.xml. We don't need that. So yeah, we already seen. So first step, we need to create an object for this section reports. Okay, and next you have the extend spark reporter. Okay. Okay, I don't know why it is not giving. Okay, this is important, right? Let's see what's assert jcom.avon stack is getting imported. Okay, that's okay. Spark HTML reporter. Okay, let's go to the website. I don't know why the auto suggestions is not coming. Is this extend Spark reporter only? Let's copy this code. Okay. Now it is string, but why the auto suggestion is not coming? So I want to generate the report in the index.html for now in the root folder, but we'll change the folder name later. And now I want to attach this, whatever the thing that is coming to the extent, so that whatever the logs we write to this will be returned to the HTML file. And I want to create the first test, and you can also introduce a local variable that's name it as test, and then here I can mention test. So this is the way we created our test, right? So this is boot class. And yeah, this is the first test. If you want to create multiple tests, you can also do that. This is the first test. So this is your before suite, and this is to create first test. And this is the last step, that is after suite. Okay, this is the one. Suppose I want one more test, copy this and paste it here. So this name it as test one. And this is test one. Second test. My second test, something. Okay, let's try to run it and see whether the reports is getting generated. Okay, now let's reload this from disk. And now if you notice, there is a index.html which you can open it in Chrome browser. So now there is a first test and the second test. Okay, this is what we have learned already. So yeah, now let's use test-ng listeners. I hope everyone knows what is a test-ng listener. Okay, let's move this code to the before suite. The first test, I have to execute this before every suite. I have to execute this before every test case, and I have to execute this after every suite. Okay, this is my requirement. And if there is a failure, I need to also mark that is a failure. Okay, for that, I need to execute certain statements after every test case. After every test case, I also have to check whether is pass or fail and need to log in the report. This is the requirement. Okay, now so for before suite, what you can do, I can basically create a new class file. Okay, let's name it as base test. Okay. And then here I can mention at the rate before suite. Okay, so there is an annotation in test.ng that executes before every suite. So I can tell like setup suite. Okay, some method like this. And here you can copy that piece of code, and the same way @ of the suite. Okay, public void tear down suite. Okay, and now we also need to execute something before each method. So @before method, and let me name it as public void setup test or setup. It's more than enough. And we also need to execute certain thing after each test case. Okay, after method. So public void tear down, that is to check whether it is pass or fail. If it is a fail, I also want to log whether it is a session failure, what is a failure and all. Okay, so this I need to do. So let's copy paste the code. That this is a before test code, right? Let's copy paste this. Go to the base test, put it here, and then let's come here. This is the first test. Before every test I want to execute this. Let's copy this piece of code. Sorry, I have cut it actually, so let's copy this. Just a minute, please. Let's copy this. It'll be here for reference. Okay, copy this. This is my before method. I need to do this, and here again after suite I want to execute this code. Okay. But if you notice, if it is throwing error because these are all local variables, it cannot be accessed here. So you can basically move. Okay, keep it as a class variable and it will work. This is not a problem. But the problem here is, okay, we are keeping a code that is not at all a test. Okay, if you notice, this is not test. Okay, we have kept a get test because this is a test. We have kept a post test because this is a test. These two things please ignore. Okay, these are all just for our reference to to quickly create and explain you what is Dataprovider and external reports. I have created these classes, so you can basically ignore them. Okay, so these are all not test cases. Okay, maybe I'll move them to the Java folder just for um, okay, so that you don't confuse. So whatever we have in the com.tnb test is all test cases. Okay, so but if you notice, this is not test case. This base test is having extend reports. This is not a test case. So what do you have to do? You have to create this in a different folder. Okay, let's go and create it. Okay, if you cannot create it in src test Java, so let's go there and create. So we cannot create it here, so let's create a new package. Let's name it as reports, and inside reports I'll create new class that is extend report maybe, and this class is a final private extend report. So I'll have method like public void init reports, and here also you can use singleton pattern, but for now I'm using static methods. So let's go here, move this whole stuff. Okay, and then put it here. Okay, now in the base test I'll just refer that. Okay, extend report dot init. So that's it. Okay, so we are not writing the actual code here, just we are calling it. Okay, this is much better than the previous case, but still it can be still optimized. I'll come to that later, but for now we have moved that code here. Okay, and I'll also have public void so I need to write extend dot flush, right? But extend is local here, so let me card it and put it here. Okay, so something like this. And now we also have this. Okay, so for that what we can do is we'll remove. So this is basically a little tricky because every time you create a test, you need to create a test case with the test name. Okay, suppose in the get test, the name is get employee detail. Then you need to create a report. Okay, you need to create a report that basically tells that particular thing. Okay, the name of the test case should be actually the get employee detail in the report. Okay, let's see the report once. Okay, here the name of the test is my first test, but I don't want that particular name. I want the name of my test that is written inside the test folder. Okay, so if you notice the get test, the name should be a get employee detail and it should be displayed here. So I want like that. Okay, in those cases you can use method reflections and other stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do, uh, you know, you can basically use method reflection. So method okay, import class from java.lang.reflect, and here if you want to get the method name, you can tell m.get, okay, and then this extend I cannot access it from here, so maybe I will move this whole code there. Okay, so what I can do is basically in the extend report, I'm going to create a method called as create test, where I'm going to pass them the method name, okay, the test name. Okay, once you do this, okay, let's create it. Okay, create test. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I have the extend dot create test, whatever the name that you are passing, I'm going to create it. Okay, after that that's all everything is set. You don't have to do this. Okay, but if you want to do any logging and all, we need that. Okay, so now I have created a test, using the method reflections, that the name will be dynamically created. All good, but I want to log some information to the report. I want to log my response details to the report. How will I do this? Okay, let's go to the extend report and then see I need the extend test object. Okay, I need to introduce this. Okay, but if you keep it as a local, you cannot use that. So what I have to do, I have to give it a public access. Okay, public static extend test. Okay, again as I told, okay, if you expose a variable, you don't have the control. So what you can do, you can create it as a private. Okay, and then you can expose the status for this. Okay, let's generate uh, get us a status, not for both, only for this. No? Now wherever you want, you just need to call get test, and then this will give you test, and then you can log it. Okay, let's go to the first test, get test, and here only I am doing. So instead of printing this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get extend report dot get test dot, I want to mark it as a pass, and then I want to pass the information. So that is response dot pretty print. I want to, okay, this information into the report. Actually, this pretty print method will return the string. Okay, if you are getting confused, maybe you can use different methods for that. Okay, response that as pretty string. Okay, this will give you the string. Okay, then you can print it. Now let's try to run and see what's happening. Okay, before we see further, most importantly, I need to extend the base test. Okay, and the post test is, let's also do that. Okay, let's try to here and run. Whatever. So whatever is happening, that's okay. Let's go and see what is the results. Okay, let's open this guy. Okay, it didn't create it properly, so maybe I need to reload it. Let's go there, and then let's just reload this, and then let's open this.
Actually, flush method is not called in the
Oh,
after suite.
okay, got it. So unless we call the flush, it won't work. Let's go there, and yeah, in the after suite, we need to call extend report dot tear down reports. Try to run it once again. whatever. So let's go to this and now open it. Now if you notice, get employee detail, get employee, all these things are here, but none of them are having the information about it. So why is that? Okay, so let's go and dig deeper. Okay, and the problem is, okay, in the extra report, the problem is, okay, this extent test, right? This extent test is basically, mm, it's not thread safe. Okay, it's not thread safe. Okay, it's a static variable. I want to make it this as thread safe. Okay, the easiest way to do it is thread local. Okay, and but this shouldn't have stopped this from printing the values, but it's little tricky why it didn't printed it, but it should have. Okay, mm, but let's try to do the thread saving first. Okay, what I can do is basically I can introduce a private static thread local, and this is extend test. Okay, again guys, I have covered this in detail in my Selenium automation framework playlist. If you still have doubts, you can always watch that. Okay, so now I have introduced a new thread local variable, and now this will help me to safeguard my static uh, variables. Okay, extend test type. Okay, so to work with this, I need to generate the getters and setters for this. So what I can do, I will public, if someone is calling this, it will return extend test. So extend test is the return type. Get test is the method that I'm going to create. I'm going to remove this. I don't need this. And then now once you do this, and here if someone is calling me, I want to return them x test dot get. And if someone is want to set some value, public, void, okay, set extend, something like this. And then what I'm going to do, x test dot set. If someone is passing me a next test, I'm going to set it here. Okay, so if someone is passing me an extend type, extend test reference, then I'm going to pass it to this thread local variable. This guy will help me to manage if there are multiple threads even working on it. It will help me to safeguard them. Okay, only the thread that set the value can get that particular value. Okay, so you take care of all these things. You don't have to worry about it. So once you create the test, all your intention is to basically call the set extend method and then pass this. Okay, once you pass this, okay, this will be set, and anyone who's want to get that value, they will call this get test method and get it. Okay, so let's go to the base test and then see there is no changes needed here. Extend report dot get test, this time is it should work. Maybe as pretty string should actually work, or let me use pretty print. Okay, so it's not a big deal. I'll comment this out. Okay, now every time here on the onwards, you have to run your extend test.xml. So you have to click on this and also run this individual test. That's also fine. You should have created. Let's see what's happening. Some of them are failing. We'll see why they are also failing. Okay, we need to see it. Connection refused. Is my JSON server is closed? Okay, there is some error occurred, man. Okay, that's why most of the tests are failing. Let's see what is the report is telling. Okay, let's go here and see. So the report is not getting generated because of the JSON server error. Let's go close it, and then let's come here. JSON hyphen server hyphen watch db.json. Otherwise, it should have at least printed the response. Let's run it again. I was thinking it was really weird. Yeah. Now all of them are passing. Now the report should have been generated. Let's go there to that particular folder. Okay, if you notice, the get employee details is actually printing you all the details. Since this is very big and this detail is also very clumsy, we can also streamline this. Okay, we will see how we can streamline this, but for now all we are interested is to log the response in the report. That is actually our use case. Maybe I will use this on different one so that we can easily get this. So let's call this particular one here. Once you get the response, you can call this here. Okay, now let's try to run it again. Okay, now all good, and let's go back again. So now the get employee detail is having the JSON response. This is not beautifully formatted. So for that, the external reports have given something new, the code language. So let's go down in the stuff. So if you notice, for effectively logging the JSON, they have one code. Okay, so if you notice, if you have a JSON like this, use marker helper and then use this particular line of code to log this. So if you do like this, then it will be logged in a proper way. Okay, let's try to execute this. Okay, let's copy this, go to our code. We also want to log the JSON. Okay, let's do this. And instead of the test, let's copy this. Again, you can use pass method, whatever you want. That's absolutely fine. We don't need this anymore. So not needed. Okay, markup helper, just import this class. And the JSON is basically your response dot pretty print or as pretty string. And you tell the language as JSON. Okay, now let's copy this and then put it here. Okay, now let's try to run the test. So get employee detail. Now, if you notice, it is beautifully aligned. Okay, even if you go to the get employee details, okay, so this is now much more readable, okay, than the previous case. Okay, since that's having a lot of data, you have to scroll a lot of time to see the end values. Okay, but this one is basically giving you clear idea what it is. Okay. Okay, now let's read all this and then okay, good. So this is all about it, guys. Now still there are some scope for us to improve. Okay, what is that? Okay, first thing, let's go to the external report. If you notice, this class is doing a lot of things. Okay, it is okay to keep all these things here, but definitely these things are definitely can be moved to a different class, because I feel this class is doing a lot of things. Okay, if you're not comfortable, you can keep them here, but I would advise to move them to a different class so that it will be easy for the future changes. So let me name it as external manager. Gonna help us to manage my test. Okay, final, and always a private construct. Now I'll copy this, paste it here. Okay, now you don't know what is okay, instead of this you need to tell extend manager dot get set extend test. Whenever you want to access this, okay, in your code, then you go to the get test and other stuff. Instead of get extend manager, you have to tell extend manager dot get test. That's it. Just copy this and then paste it here. Now this is okay, but again, if you notice this, if you type extend manager dot get test dot, if you know, there is a lot of options: pass, fail, log, add screenshot from, but the add screenshot and all is not needed, because this is a REST API automation. We don't have to expose all these methods to all the fellow developers, other automation engineers, because they are all juniors. They can try to get the status, do a lot of things. They can make the code more clumsy. So I don't want them to show all these methods to them. I want to conceal some of the methods and then only show them only the relevant stuff. Okay, in those cases, you still have an option. Guys, notice I am going step by step. Okay, first we created everything in the base test, then we felt, okay, we are writing the code here, this is not a good way, so now we are only making the calls to that. And then we had the face the problem with the multiple threading also. So to avoid that, we used thread local. This thread local can solve the, so if you even run this test in parallel, it'll work. Okay, so that's the use of this extend manager. Now we are exposing a lot of things. Okay, we are exposing unnecessary things to other engineers. We don't want to do that. As a test automation architect, I want to do the restrictions. Okay, how will I do that? In that case, okay, let's create one more class. Let's say this class is extend logger. Okay, and let's keep it as final. Okay, and because I'm gonna have only static methods, I'm gonna keep this as private. And here I'm gonna expose them only few methods. Let's say void a pass method. Okay, this method will help you to, you know, extend manager dot get extend test dot pass. You pass some string to me. I'll you pass some message. I will log into the report. That's it. Okay. Okay, what else? Okay, pass. And then you also have fail. Okay, you also have fail. You can also do info. Okay, info. Okay, so now you let them know, hey, use extend logger to log all your information. Don't use any other things. Okay, let's go to the get test. Okay, now we are telling, advising people, don't do it. Okay, then extend logger, they will use extend logger dot pass fail, all those stuff. Okay, only they will use this. Okay, pass, and then they will pass the message. Okay, let them pass the message something like this, or something like test started, whatever. Okay, they will use only this again, but still they have the option. It is still open for them. So what I can do, I can go here, I can make this as default so that they cannot access this from that get test. Okay, if you make it as a default, it can be only accessed from the within the same package. Okay, it cannot be accessed outside. Okay, again, for setting it, again I can remove it because I want people only to set from the extend report class. Once you create it, you can set it. Okay, so you can control this with the help of access modifiers. Okay, get test now is throwing error. Let's go and fix it. Okay, you cannot access this anymore. Suppose I want to log the response. Okay, so this has a unique format, right? So let's go here and create one more thing. um, Public a static a void a log response. Okay, some method like this. Someone is passing me a string. This is, that's, I can assume this is a JSON. Okay, what I can do, I can use this code. Okay, Control X, paste it, and here message. Okay, I don't need this any other things. Okay, let's go there, and instead of this, what I can basically tell, extend logger dot log response dot as string. Okay, as pretty string, whatever. Can pass this. It will do the logging for you. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. Control D. Now we are making our code much simple and clean than before, right? So we are trying to log our information about all the logs. Okay, whatever you want to log, you can log it. Okay, same way you can copy this thing and put it in all the tests. Let's say, let's go to the post test. You can also paste it here. Okay, and you can also paste it here. So paste it here. Okay, now let's try to run the test ng test and see what's happening. Okay, you notice get employee details. We have the request response from the here. We also have the response here. Okay, whatever, and for everything we are getting the response. Okay, so this is a beauty about this. And if you want to add author level information also, you can also do that. For now I am not doing it. Okay, but now let's also see whether there is a failure. Okay, let's assume there is a failure. Okay, I have a failure here. in my get test. I was expecting it to be equal to that, and then before that I'm just voluntarily failing it. Okay, let's see what's happening. So it's getting failed. Okay, let's see what's, but all my things are telling it's passed because my extend reports doesn't know that there is a test failed. Okay, so I cannot depend on this. So what I have to do, either I have to go here and then I do need to write the code. Okay, first I don't know how to do this with the after method. Maybe it is it will give you some uh, after method parameters. Let's do it. Okay, let's.
The test result. I think.
Okay, yeah, it's I test result, right? So I test result. Yeah, using this you can get fetch that information. Okay, here also you need to write conditions. Okay, if result dot is success, then it means a success. Okay, if it is a failure, um get test result, maybe it will be there. Get test name, get result is success. Maybe if this success is success, if it is not a success, then what I want to do, I want to do result dot get. Okay, I cannot actually get. Okay, I can get the throwable here, and I can do the logging. Okay, extend logger dot fail. Can do this. Okay, maybe I need to convert this to string. Okay, string. Yeah. So now let's try to run it. Let's go back, and then if you notice, this time it is marking it as a failure because it now knows there is a failure because we have told it to fail. Okay, we are checking whether it is fail or pass. If it is not a success, it means it's a failure. So I'm getting the throwable, and then I'm converting into a string, and then I am logging the information as fail. If you call only the fail method, it will be fail. Okay, if you mention it as pass, it will be marked as a pass. Okay, so this is how we can play around with it. Again, guys, if you notice, this is again we are doing a lot of work in the base test. Okay, most of them are related to reports. Okay, so you can use testng listeners to move this code from here to actually make the call from the testng listeners. Okay, maybe you can try it by yourself, otherwise we will see it on Wednesday. We'll have the class again on Wednesday, and then we'll see it how we can move this code to listeners, and then we can make the call from there. There you can have a method for on test failure, on test success, on test skip. Okay, so you don't have to write this if conditions there. It'll already have that. Okay, otherwise if you are comfortable, you can also use like this. Okay, again, if you notice very closely, we haven't logged our request into the extend reports. That's little tricky. We will see how to do that. We have to use something filter method to do that. So we will see that in the next class. Before that, you can also practice till here. Okay, we are almost done. Okay, so let's give you some assignments. Okay, I will give you some assignments. Okay, let's create a new file. Let's say assignments. Okay, so this assignment, okay, we have done one postman assignment, right? What, oh sorry, you have to use hash here. We have done one postman assignment. What we have done, so first we need to so first make a git call to the local host Json server 3000. Okay, and then this is the first step. Okay, this is the first step you need to do. Once you do this, get the size get the size of the array. Okay, next, the third one, store the size in some variable. Okay, fourth one, make a post call using Pojo and builder. Okay, you can use any builder pattern. You can use Lombok, you can use Lombok or your own external builder classes. Okay, external builder, anything is fine. Okay, but I want you to use only the Pojo. Okay, not any other stuff. Okay, once you do this, verify post call is success. 6-1. Okay, once you are done with this, now the size of make the get call again, and check whether the size is greater than, the size should be actually +1. Okay, from the previous value. So we have stored the size. Let's assume you have stored it in variable called as size, and now this should be size +1. Okay, now the size should be size +1. Once you do this, I also want to verify schema validations. Okay, you can also need to do that. Okay, after that I want you to make an update call. Okay, update call to update the first name field. Okay, first name field. Okay, good. Once you do with that, okay, store the response in the external txt file. Once you do this, make the delete call, and delete the entry you created. Okay, whatever you have created, you have to delete. Just for this, you can just validate the get the size again, and check it is still the size. Okay, because we added a new value, it becomes size +1. We deleted a value and then it should become back to the size. Okay, I want you guys to do all these assignments. Okay, just do it and then let me know if you have any doubts. Okay, you can also add on to this. You can move the code in base test to listener. Okay, you can basically use test listener, and suite listener. Okay, and on top of it, what else I told you guys. Okay, you can also try to log the request values to the external reports. We are only marking the response now. Also try to log the request value into the external reports. This is very tricky. Okay, please do this assignment and let me know. If you cannot do it, we are going to do that in the next class. Okay, so let's please do it. Okay, this is very important, guys. I'll also give the assignment while uploading the video. You have 2 days. Please do it and let me know. Okay, any doubts before we wrap? Hello, anything from anyone before we wrap? No. Okay, guys, if not, we will wrap for today. You all have a very good Sunday. I'll see you guys. Please ping me, ping in the group about your assignments. Okay, create the code and then share your code with us. We'll all can see how we are developing. Basically, I'm very interested to see how you guys are coding. Let's do this assignment. Okay, please don't be lazy. Only when you do this assignment, you get to know everything. Okay, yeah, that's all from my side, guys. You all have a very good Sunday. Bye.